grandmother Kathy.
It was about 24 years ago that I applied to the Peace Corps. I did Peace Corps in mid-career, which is unusual. Most people do it like right out of college. I accepted the invitation to serve in the Peace Corps, and my assignment was Albania. At that point in time, they were just fresh out of communism. Albania in 1997, there was civil unrest, and I knew that going in. There were some demonstrations in the streets and things like that they had told us about. So when we got there were demonstrations in the streets, and there was gunfire at night, and it was a scary situation. People would go out and just shoot in the air and protest, because what had happened in the country was there were these pyramid schemes that basically just about everybody in the country had invested in because they were making money. And then there weren't any more people to invest in it, and so they started collapsing. And so the people of the country were protesting and demonstrating. You know, when I went in, we were in training. My group of 9 that I was in, we had to go to the training center, and we got assigned to host families there. My host family, the mother's name was Electra. The man's name was Barry. But the family that I stayed with, they really didn't speak any English. I didn't have much opportunity to get photos in Albania, so I was able to get some postcards. I still feel kind of sad that I never got to really experience my 2 years there. I do remember sitting in the host family's dining room table, and they had the TV off in the corner, and they stopped where broadcasting Voice of America in Albania at that time. I remember the parents that I was staying with, the host parents, they got their passports for their 2 daughters. I think they were going to try to get their daughters out of the country, maybe to Greece. On March 12th, all American non-essential personnel were ordered out of the country. That night was very frightening, as machine guns and other gunfire could be heard all night long. The next morning, I was afraid to go to the Peace Corps office, as I didn't know if we would get shot at in the taxi. I arrived safely, and we were supposed to leave the country that day on March 13th by a chartered commercial flight. However, the airport was closed due to intense gunfire. We all stayed at the Peace Corps office that night. It was crowded with 90 of us in there. We watched the tracer bullets in the sky. Every so often, we would see a man in the Palati, it's an apartment-like building, next to the Peace Corps office, come out on his porch on the 4th floor and shoot off a round. During the course of the evening, I had 2 bullets fall within a few feet from me. The next morning, on March 14th, we boarded chartered buses that took us to the American Embassy compound. When we got there, we were greeted by the armed U.S. Marines. While being processed for the evacuations, shots could be heard in the near area. We boarded helicopters. These were the Chinooks, which seated 14 people. And we were body tagged. In case we didn't make it out, they would know who we were. The helicopters took us to the Navy ship, the USS Nassau, which was in the Adriatic Sea. We had lunch with the Navy and then boarded larger helicopters, which took us into Brindisi, Italy. One of the first things I did, first opportunity when we were in Brindisi, Italy, was to call Colette to my parents' home just to let them know I'm okay. The buses took us to Bari, Italy, and there was a chartered flight waiting for us to take us to Bucharest, Romania. So we stayed 10 days in Romania, where they closed our service, and I got to do some sightseeing there. Our training group had the option to do a field transfer to the Ukraine. I opted to return to the U.S. and re-enroll in the Peace Corps. So I spent a few days in Washington, D.C. doing this, and then went to my parents' house in Michigan. Then I head for Belize for my next assignment.